Welcome to Plant Medicine Transmissions with Javier Regueiro. In the last episode of Plant Medicine Transmissions, we were exploring the similarity of all religions and spiritual paths, as well as their uniqueness. So it seems time to start exploring, or for me to start sharing what I believe the unique flavor and some of the unique teachings, the curriculum of plant medicine, in particular with ayahuasca and San Pedro. For me, the main message of both of these medicines for us, particularly Westerners, at this point in history, is first and foremost, let go. Letting go of what may have been beneficial, possibly indispensable for our survival, for our well-being in the past, but no longer really is. I've always perceived the messages of plant medicines to be most importantly an invitation to walk lightly on this planet. So plants are inviting us to let go of what no longer serves us, so that we can step onto this planet with a lighter gait, but also with clarity of mind and a more open heart. So if you find yourself bending over because of the sheer amount of emotional and mental baggage that you may be carrying despite your best intentions, if you find that weight to become increasingly unbearable and actually not conducive to life, but beginning to feel more like a hindrance to life, to your life, then I would say that the message, the practice of letting go as taught by plant medicines is a good thing, is a recommended thing. When I first went to the jungle in 2004, I had no idea of how much stuff I've been carrying, but most importantly, I had no idea up until then that letting go was actually an option. This concept of letting go was a total novelty to me, and it took a little while getting used to the idea, getting used to the practice of letting go, and it has been a meaningful process. Actually, it has been an amazing process, to be honest. It has been amazing because this lesson of this invitation of letting go is something that we have to learn sooner or later, as this earthly experience is most importantly about change. It is about change in that everything changes. Therefore, the circumstances and our very own attitude towards life do, in the best of cases, change with time. However, if we are invested in holding on to any emotions, experience, way of thinking, viewpoint, the moment we start holding on to any of those, we start walking against life. We are expecting life to bend its rules for us so that we don't have to meet and experience one of the most human of experiences, that of loss, that of change, that of grief, that of a new, completely new moment arising on our mind's horizon in every moment of our lives. Letting go is a particularly specific lesson of ayahuasca and San Pedro, and I would say probably of most plant medicines, in that plant medicines are connected with the patterns of life as they are expressed on this planet. And one of the things that manifests in this planet is not a linear conception of time and creation, but rather a cyclical. All aspects, all manifestations of life on this planet occur through cycles. Everything is a cycle. Everything has a birth, a growth, a decay, and a dying, so that the cycle can start again anew. So acceptance of the cyclical aspect of organic life on this planet speaks of the importance, the necessity of dying in order to be reborn, of making space within and without ourselves so that something new, something pertaining to the present moment rather than the past, can finally have enough space for growth. So the challenge of embracing the natural rhythm of life, of birth, growth, decay, and dying, speaks once again of our own fear of dying, of our own fear of an experience, the experience of life that we can perceive as finite in the years and coming for sure to an end before we know it. It is no coincidence that the very word ayahuasca translates from the Quechua as the vine of the dead or the vine of death. The connection with dying as expressed by ayahuasca is really about life. The dying that we experience, psychological, mental, under the effects of these medicines, are the necessary step so that life can start thriving again. Actually, dying is a part of living and not something in opposition or in separation from life. Therefore, the more we are familiar, the less judgmental we are about dying, about getting old, the easier it's going to be for us to actually live more fully. The more we embrace dying, the more we are actually embracing life and living. The impermanence of life, the impermanence of every single moment and experience sure is a challenging curriculum for all of us as human beings. We become very early in life aware of our mortality. We wish to make it the most of this finite experience of human life. And at the same time, we are totally overwhelmed by it. And we are overwhelmed by the fact that in reality, everything is changeable, everything is subject to change, and everything comes with an expiration date. The Chinese have been telling us for over 4,000 years that the only constant in this mutable world is change. And yet, for most of us, it takes a lifetime to get used to the program and start dancing with it. Start actually engaging with the rhythms of life rather than looking for a way to bend those rules and possibly attain an immortal life in these very physical bodies. Plant medicines, as I understand them, as I experience them, are about coming into our bodies, coming and fully embracing this physical experience that, at least as Westerners, we have neglected for quite a few centuries. In order to learn about the rhythms of life, it is important to experience this organic life in our very own skin. And I found the plant medicine, particularly its purgative side, to always bring me back into the here and now, into my body, despite whatever judgments I may hold against it. I always find a moment where I am once again grateful for this body and for this human experience, and definitely grateful for the opportunity to let go of something that was weighing me down. We all say that we want to let go, and unfortunately for many of us, our letting go muscle is so out of practice that oftentimes we don't know how to go about letting go. So we're going to speak here about letting go before, during, and after a plant medicine ceremony. The first thing is the letting go before the actual ceremony. I benefited immensely from exploring my own landscape before I drank ayahuasca for the first time, and I still do to this day. I pay attention to my feelings, to my thoughts, and see if I hold any particularly obsessive fear, concern against the medicine that I'm about to ingest. Then I prefer to actually start exploring those fears before ingesting the medicine. This is something that happens to almost all of us the moment we entertain the possibility of drinking, say, ayahuasca or San Pedro, and particularly ayahuasca. We are in the grips of our fear, or rather, as part of this healing process, our own fears start resurfacing. And the blanket of the medicine is a wonderful screen upon which to project our own fears. So I invite people to start looking at their own fears before they actually drink this medicine. And if we make just the tiniest progress, that's gonna mean that we're gonna show up in ceremony without that little bit of fear. And the absence of that little tiny fear does make a big difference. Because when we come to ceremony, oftentimes what we experience is simply an enlarged, magnified version of our own inner landscape. So if we go to the ceremony with fear, that's what we are going to experience most likely. We may then take the day off, the day of ceremony, take a day off so that we can be with ourselves and listen, pay attention, and possibly let go of unnecessary fear that may totally color our experience later in the evening. Over millennia, we have developed countless letting go procedures, therapeutic modalities, and of course, the efficacy of these modalities is only dependent on the person who engage with them. But this is what I have discovered, have experienced along my own journey. The first thing that I discovered was that I can only let go of something that I take full responsibility for. So this means that I can only let go of, say for instance, an old upset or a traumatic experience if I have claimed full responsibility for my own experience. This means that as long as we hold any blame, as long as we're not willing to let go of the benefit, the secret benefit of blaming somebody else or something else for our own experience, actual letting go is, as far as I'm concerned, impossible. And this means that for me to be able to experience the healing, the letting go that I was longing for, the first thing that I had to do was explore my own victim identity. All my victim selves that were still attached to that very pain I was hoping to let go of. And at the same time, those selves that have been feeding on not only my own pain, but also been feeding and feeling very safe, knowing that I still held a deep stance of victimhood towards myself as well as toward others. What became clear in the early stages of my own healing process was that I could not hold on to everything. I had to sacrifice, which literally means make sacred. I had to sacrifice those aspects of myself that were either obsolete, no longer valid or useful, or that letting go was the only way to make enough space particularly in my mind and in my spirit, in order to welcome the new that was waiting for me just on the other side of that letting go. Plants have been time and time again showing me the importance of cleaning up my house, particularly the basement, on a regular basis, so to speak. It has taught me the importance of this kind of personal hygiene and has shown me that in order for the new to grow, I needed to clean up my house, clean up the soil, and get it ready. And the first step in that getting ready of new soil is letting go, allowing the process of life to continue through its decaying and dying parts, trusting that new life will resurface from it when the time is right. Blessings.